Okay, so I'm just going to do it on the roof, this massing, and so I'll just turn my section box off. Okay, so going to massing in site, and then I'll go to in place mass, and then just ignore this message, hit close, and the name, I don't care, I'm just going to click OK. Right, so then, because I want to draw on this roof, I'm going to use set, and then pick that surface. Notice with massing, when you choose set, it doesn't give you all those other options. So you just need to be prepared. So when you choose set, it just wants you to choose a plane. You can't, you can only choose it that way. So then I'm going to make a line. Now I'm just going to have to experiment quickly here. So if I make a line, just remember, because triangles have their own particular little issues. So if I make a line, I'm then going to go to create form and then just solid form. That gives me a rectangle. Now I just can't remember if I'm going to delete this corner. Yeah, it deletes the whole thing, unfortunately. So you can't make a triangle like that. So that's one of the limitations with massing. Making triangles can be a bit fiddly. So I'm going to try a different approach. So, but just remember, if you're happy to have them, because I know in your photos you basically had a lot of essentially triangular shapes, but you could make them like a triangle by starting like this and then putting those points close together. Once they touch, it'll give you an error. But if you can get them very close though, and then it's pretty much a triangle, even though technically it's still got a straight edge there at the end. And so then you can select one of the edges and then click create form from there, and that will make another surface that you can then edit. So you have to click on the padlock to unlock it. You can then select an edge, bring it around to a different place. And so then, again, just like before, I can get one of these corner points. And here, now it's being a bit fiddly because it should be following the axis, but it's not. So I'm going to have to just do it by eye. So I'll just get this nice and close. Oh no, it is following it. Just doesn't look like it's following it. Yeah, so that's working. Okay, so I can then just bring that in nice and close. So again, it looks like a triangle, even though, again, we know technically that it's not. So again, selecting this edge now, again, I can just keep clicking create form and then again, get the edge at the bottom, unlock it. So get the edge at the bottom and, keep adjusting it, and eventually you would be able to get the shape that you're after or something quite close to it, but it'll take some time. So that works, and that's the first approach, but I'm going to show you another slightly different approach that also works, but gives you a true triangle. So here, well, kind of get now. There's also an issue you'll sometimes find even with this approach, because now I've got a feeling it won't give me. Oh yeah, it does give me the vertex, but sometimes you'll see it won't let you edit the vertex when you get to a certain point, which can be a bit frustrating. And if you hear me talking about using programs like 3ds Max, this is the reason. When you need to make complex models, sometimes it is easier just to go over to 3ds Max, where it has more powerful modeling tools, and we'll be looking at that next semester. But you can see even with this approach, you should be able to get something similar to what you're after. So that's one mass, but I'm going to go and make another one. And notice you'll get this warning. Whenever you create masses that don't have solids, you're going to get this warning, but don't worry, it doesn't mean that it's not going to work. It's just warning you there's no solid geometry. So I'll go back and use, in place mass again. And then again, set just to make sure it's drawing on the roof. And then this time I'm going to draw a triangle. So before I just drew one line to start with, this time I'm starting with that triangle. And then I'm going to create form, solid form, and then delete the top. And what that does is just leaves the bottom. So that is now a triangular surface, which is what I'm after. So then I can still select the edges, move them around to get different. So in this case, it probably is easier because it's a triangle. I'm not thinking about basic geometry. Lifting that edge up would, of course, create some problems. So instead, I'm going to lift this corner up. That's better. And then now to add more triangles, I can't just select one of the edges like I did before and use create form, because that's going to give me rectangular surfaces. And I don't want that. So instead, I'm going to select the surface and use mirror pick axis. And then I can pick one of the edges, and that gives me another triangular surface, and then I can keep working from there. So I can then adjust this vertex point and move it to where I need it to. Okay, so that's another slightly different approach, which is better in a way because it gives you true triangles, but it's also a bit harder to adjust and manipulate those shapes. But then having said that, once you've got those surfaces, then you need to make them into something solid. So to make them come up as a wall, you then go to massing and site and then use the wall tool, so wall by face. And I might just use the 30mm toilet partition because it's a nice thin wall. Right, and then I can pick any of those surfaces that I've created using massing, and that makes them into a solid thing. Okay, so that's it. So that should give you enough to be able to make all those surfaces like that. I'll just stop that recording.